Yo, what's up guys, Wolfacts here and welcome to another video. This is the top 10 video games of all time. Now before I get into the list, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content. And I want to mention that I'm gonna be choosing games only with single titles, no collective franchises such as the Call of Duty series. Anyways guys, let's get into the video. Starting off our list with Super Mario World. The first of many on this list, it was released in 1990, a year later to North America and a year later to Europe. It was obviously released by Nintendo as the launch game along with the SNES. It sold about 20.6 million copies across all regions, which was, back then, a humongous rate. It has the usual plot of saving Princess Peach, but it included the introduction of the infamous Yoshi. The game was produced by the creator of the Mario series himself, Shigeru Miyamoto, who stated that he wanted to introduce a dinosaur to the series ever since the very first Super Mario Bros. However, he was incapable due to the original NES limitations. After the success of Super Mario World, the game was packaged in a special version of Super Mario All-Stars titled Super Mario All-Stars plus Super Mario World, obvious name, which was released in 1994 in the United States. Everything remained the same except for one major factor. Luigi has his own sprite, while in the original Luigi's sprite was simply a palette swap of the Mario sprite. One for the Luigi fans. On to a beloved number 9 with Tetris. Tetris was released in 1984, about 33 years ago, and is still successful today. It was made by Alexei Piatonov. I'm pretty sure I killed that name. The name Tetris came from a combination of tennis and tetra, a Greek number. It sold 35 million copies on Game Boy, and remember, it was released 6 years before Super Mario World, and it sold over 170 million in total. However, Alexei did not get paid until the mid-1990s, 11 years later, as at the time of the release, Russia was in a tight political state and so he gave up all his rights at the time to the government. As well as being a great game, Tetris was discovered to have several health benefits, including distractions from cravings generally and addictive ones precisely, along with, obviously, increased brain efficiency. Other games that were derived from Tetris over the times were Tempest, Stratosphere, and Earthquake. Feel free to go play them. And how could we make a gaming list without any of the Final Fantasy? Onto our number 8 spot, Final Fantasy VII. Released in 1997, a game made by Square for the PlayStation, it sold over 11 million copies, which, by the PlayStation's standards, is quite massive. Its development took a whopping 3 years and it's obviously paid off, as it's one of the only games to stay relevant to this day. With a cheap price of $11.99 on Steam, you could easily go and experience this amazing piece of artwork. It won numerous Game of the Year awards, which supports its relativity, as the plot includes chasing Sephiroth across the planet. It also included the most heartbreaking death in the history of gaming, the death of the fan-favorite character, Ares. The game was so successful that in fact, it had a remake for the PlayStation so even modern gen can experience this game. We're staying in the 90s with our number 7 spot, Chrono Trigger. Chrono Trigger was released in 1995, a game also made by Square, however for the SNES this time. It sold only 3.6 million copies, which just goes to prove that this list is not solely based on sales. The game follows Chrono, Marley, and Luca as they travel through different timelines, firstly saving Marley from the Mystics, then Chrono from the King, and finally the world from Lavos. Chrono Trigger was so successful that it also had remakes for the PS Network, iOS, Android devices, and virtual consoles. So if you're free, you can go put your fingers to use. We're almost halfway through with our number 6 spot, Street Fighter II. Released in 1991 for arcades firstly, a game made by Capcom, the second entry in the Street Fighter series came in with a plethora of improvements on the first installment, which allowed it to become one of the, if not the most iconic fighting game in history. It sold 38 million software units in total, and it also set the stage for other fighting games such as Mortal Kombat to take the world by storm. With $15 billion in revenue, It is one of the most highest grossing games of all time. And we're halfway through with our second and last entry of the Super Mario series, Super Mario 64. Released in 1996, made by Nintendo of course, however for the Nintendo 64 this time, hence the name. It sold around 11.9 million copies, and with the usual task of saving Princess Peach and the Mushroom Kingdom, each game of the Mario series has to have a standout feature. This one was the first game to introduce 3D graphics, which hugely played a part on 3D game designing in the future that we now call the present. It is considered by many to be the greatest game ever and one of the most radical games in history. And kicking off our number 4 and 3 spot with two games from the same series, The Legend of Zelda. Starting off with our number 4 spot, The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. Released in 1991 in Japan and 1992 for the rest of the world, a game obviously released by Nintendo for the SNES. The plot basically states that Link has to save the Kingdom of Hyrule and defeat Ganon. With only 4.61 million copies sold, people start to wonder, why is this game in the number 4 spot? Well, it's actually because of the many introduced features in it that are still being used in modern The Legend of Zelda games, such as the Master Sword, which can actually be obtained in the brand new game The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. If you want to experience A Link to the Past before Breath of the Wild, feel free to do so, as it is available for the Wii, Wii U, and the Nintendo 3DS. On to the better The Legend of Zelda game, The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Released in 1998, 7 years after our past entry, it was made by Nintendo for the Nintendo 64. It sold about 7.6 million copies, making it more successful from the past entry. It basically follows Link to stop Ganondorf obtaining the powerful Triforce by traveling through time and awakening the sages using the instrument Ocarina, hence the name. This in turn boosted sales for the instrument in real life. Many considered the game a remake for our past entry, however it has clearly outdone its ancestor. 3D versions are actually available for the Wii and Wii U if you would like to experience them. Also a version is available for the Nintendo 3DS, however it has rearranged dungeons. And we're in the number 2 spot with Minecraft. Released in 2011, a game made by Mojang and designed by the Swedish Notch, it sold over a whopping 121 million copies on all platforms, the highest on this list. The sandbox game basically flew through the roof with its open block world, allowing gamers to innovate and create. There is no question whether this game deserves to be this high on the list. Minecraft has also opened up many job opportunities for many YouTubers to base their channels on. With weekly updates, Mojang keeps the game refreshed, even including some theme packs, including Star Wars and Mass Effect. And we're in the number 1 spot, the best game of all time, GTA 5. The most recent, released in 2013 for old gen and 2014 for new gen, a game made by the famous Rockstar, released 5 years after GTA 4. It sold over 80 million copies, and as you may know, it follows 3 protagonists, Franklin Clinton, Trevor Phillips, and Michael DeSanta, as they carry out missions such as heists and high-speed chases to become rich, with each protagonist having their own story. With an outstanding 30 players allowed in an open world or game matches, along with a multitude of mods being available on PC, there is no wonder why this is our number 1 on the list. It also succeeded in earning more than $1 billion in its first week and won many Game of the Year awards. Some honorable mentions for this list include Resident Evil 4, GoldenEye 007, Super Metroid, and Valve's Half-Life 2. Anyways guys, thanks a lot for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe for more content. This has been Wolf Facts. Holla at you later.